Hello and welcome to the Hospital Rooms Digital Art School. You are about to watch a colour tricks workshop with London-based artist Hester Finch. You could find the materials list down at the bottom, and you can also like and subscribe to our channel. We hope you enjoy the workshop today.
Hi, my name's Hester Finch. Welcome to my Hospital Rooms Digital Art School workshop. I am an artist based in South East London. I work predominantly in oil paints and in soft pastels. I usually work from the naked female figure, so I use a lot of life models, and my paintings and my drawings tend to be about a kind of psychological interior space. I tend to use lots of colours, so that's why my workshop today is going to be called Tricks with Colours, basically. So I'm going to show you how to use soft pastels and a coloured card to draw a picture of your hand using a really limited palette, which is taking me out of my comfort zone, because normally I use all the colours I can find. But for the purpose of this workshop, we're going to use 4 colours plus the coloured card. So get started here on my pastels and the card. And today I'm going to use the purple card. And we're aiming to make something that looks a bit like this at the end. This is about an hour's worth of drawing, 40 minutes. You need to pick your colours. We have my Rembrandt pastels. So these are the Rembrandts. These are the, this is the coloured card, which is Clairefontaine Maya 270 grams, which is a nice thick card. It's got quite a smooth surface, and these are quite hard pastels, so they go well together. To pick your colours, what I often do is a little cube test. So what we're trying to do is create structure and shape and form with only 4 colours plus the colour of the card. What you need to do, if I get a sheet of paper, is you draw a cube on the front, like so. It can be quite rough. Colour it in. I'm using my nice bright blue, and then a nice dark olive tone. And what we're trying to figure out is which colour will represent which tone. So the olive for me is going to be my darkest colour. My next darkest will be my violet. So that's my medium dark. The blue is going to be my lightest colour, and then next to that I'm going to have this pale pink. So if we put sort of shadow colour in there. And then you've also got the nice purple of the paper to work with, so that's your 5th colour. So what we'll do is put that to the side. Right, because we don't have a naked model, we're going to use our hands. So I'm right-handed, so I'm going to draw my left hand. I'm going to take off my jewellery, because that just complicates the image. So you just want a nice naked hand. I'm going to place my hand on my surface, try and find a reasonably interesting shape, so maybe stick a couple of fingers next to each other. Don't worry about it too much. I tend to use a single light source, generally coming in from the side. This gives nice shape and shadow to the hand, gives a nice strong shadow on the board behind the hand. In this instance, we've got a couple of lights on me, so we're going to have multiple light sources, which flattens it slightly. But I find the longer you look at your subject, whether it's your hand or a life model or whatever, you'll begin to see more and more colours. So what we're going to do to begin with is we're going to do an outline. For the outline, we're going to start at the top of the little finger, and we're going to draw looking at the hand, not looking at the drawing. So this outline does not need to be accurate. All you're doing is placing your hand on the piece of paper. So you're just figuring out your composition. Nice, smooth, reasonably fast line. There's always a nice bit of webbing there between the fingers. Remember to get that in. So I'm glancing back at the paper, but generally my eyes are on my hands. And usually these come out nice, chunky, sort of monstrous sized hands. But what we're not trying to achieve here is perfection. You're just trying to get a sense of the hand. You'll find that drawings are much more interesting if you don't worry about making it look exactly like the subject. The differences, the deformities and the mutations are what create the powerful points of psychology and interest. Try not to press too hard. My sheet's slightly dirty there. So now we've got that down. we're going to pick up, generally, I find it easiest to start with the lightest colour. And we're going to try and find, we're going to start with the little finger and we're going to work towards the right. And I try and find the highlighted part, so this is where the light has hit. So take that blue off my finger because that'll confuse my eye. So there's some real lightness there between the two fingers and the soft fleshy bit under my finger. So I'm just going to scribble those in. I'm not going to worry too much about accuracy right now. We're on a limited time as well. Normally I might spend 2 hours working on a hand. So this is much more about an exercise for loosening up, training the eye to reduce your shapes down to just 4 different tones. And what's interesting about using these different colours is these two, the olive and the purple, are actually quite tonally similar. So if you put this in black and white, they would look very similar greys. But the whole point is, if you use them consistently, your brain will start to read them as the right tone, the right shade. So I'm just trying to find the light on the back of my hand. And I tend to map it out with a line initially, and then I'll fill it in a bit. This blue really pops on the purple, but actually it's very hard to see in these lines as well. So you're just mapping it out. A lot of these marks you won't see towards the end, so don't get hung up on them. There's the fingernail. Right, now I'm going to move on to my second lightest colour, my medium light. And I can see that that's pretty light between the knuckle and the way the skin pulls towards the next finger there. It's all pretty light on that first section of the digit. And what we're doing is we're basically using it like a jigsaw. So we're filling out sections and chunks, and each time you figure out one bit, it'll lead you to the next part, and that's how you fit them all together. And in the end, you probably won't even follow this initial line you've drawn. So let's bring in medium dark. So it's got nice darkness around the side of the finger there. So we're just going to draw it in, find some of those wrinkles around the knuckle. There's a little dip there. And the sides, the left-hand sides of my fingers tend to be more in the shadow. And then you can follow the line of the bone that takes you there to the knuckle. There's a sort of wrinkle that joins that bit of flesh to the next finger. And then there's a really dark little patch there. Just like that. And to the side of this knuckle it's a bit darker, so I'm going to go over that purple a little bit. And that's actually quite dark, so I'm just going to go over that. And then what I'm finding is on the left-hand side of the finger, there is quite a dark outline. So I'm just going to follow that with my olive, my dark olive. And it gets quite dark there. And then there's just, it catches it there, a little bit dark. But then it's light joining these two. So that's the kind of thing you're looking for. That's what will give you the realism. That dark line doesn't follow all the way along, it stops. About to fall foul of is to not spend too long on one section. You want to start working the hand up fairly evenly, otherwise you might lose yourself and overwork a piece. And you can only really see what's needed to balance an artwork when you've got marks over most of the paper and you step back from it. So that knuckle there is quite dark, so I'm just going to bring that in. It's It's all about finding lines that are near each other. So this line here, this crease from that finger is near there, so I can judge that distance by eye. If I tried to guess the distance from there to there, I'd almost certainly make an error, which is why you work up gradually, heading towards the next section. You don't leap too far. There's a really heavy shadow there, so I'm going to go in with the olive. It doesn't matter if you correct your composition as you go, it's more try to avoid layering your pastels too much. This, of course, is just my technique. A lot of people consider pastel drawings paintings, and they layer ferociously. But I find it loses the sort of the purity and the brilliance of the colour when you start to put them on top of each other. Much like oil paints, you end up with more sort of dirtier colours. And I start to map out, and I will start to layer. I might not have a chance with this drawing, but I might put this very softly, this purple here. So this bit's darker where the knuckle sinks in, and then this is a bit softer. And then I can use my medium light and go over it, and I'll start to do some blending. I only ever blend generally with the pastels themselves, but some people will enjoy blending with their fingers, and occasionally I do use rubbers. You get a nice drag effect with rubbers. So if you've got your rubber, you can create a kind of a wonky line, a kind of blurred Richter effect, like the German artist. But I use that sparingly. I like the boldness of the raw pastel. Wait, that's the highlight, so I need blue here. I've got some lovely little creases of the fingers. And then what I would do is I'd work all the way around. That's all lovely and light there. And I'd find the end of the thumb. So I start top left and I work across. And as I go, I will try and find that structure in the back of the hand as well. And what I'll do is I'll often draw these sort of bumpy lines that outline where the highlight goes. And I won't necessarily colour it all in. Often it's really nice to leave this mark making, so you get a contrast. In terms of the shadows, because I've got multiple light sources, I've got dark shadows and I've got medium shadows. So I'm going to use my purple to create this medium shadow. And generally you'll find light bounces off the paper, or what you're resting on, onto the finger, so you get this highlight under the finger. So try and leave a bit of paper. Leave a bit of the original purple to give you that illusion of light bouncing back. And then this one goes all the way down. I'm using this thumb to try and hold my sheet, but it's not the perfect solution. You will find your paper will wiggle around a bit. You can, of course, tape your paper down if you want. I like to shift mine around sometimes. So then I would colour that in purple. For the background, where the light hits, what I found works nicely is to use your lightest colour. So this is when your hand will start to pop off the sheet and it will become more 3D. Now I'm doing this really quickly because I'm on a limited time. So this is maybe a sort of 12-minute drawing. Bear in mind I'll often spend couple of hours, but to give you an idea, this one was a 40-minute, or maybe just under. So you can see where it's started to build up. So it's all building up slowly of the different sections. And as I said, it's like a jigsaw, like a puzzle you're fitting together. And then gradually, it depends. The trick is figuring out where to stop, so you don't want to overwork it. But you can start to bring in some more subtle gradients between the colours. I chose a black here, which made it quite challenging. It's very harsh black. So therefore it required more blending. So I had really 2 dark tones, very dark tones, and 2 very light tones. But it makes for an interesting effect. You just get different effects. You can play around. You can also inverse the colours. You could use your lightest colour as your darkest shade and see how that works. But you have to really train your brain to keep thinking flip, flip, like a negative, like a photographic negative. But anyway, hopefully that will give you an idea. I'm sorry I can't show you more of this one finished, but if you keep working up, you just got to learn and try and judge when to stop and enjoy all the colours and all the bouncing off of each other. Thanks very much for joining my workshop. I hope you enjoyed it.
Amazing.